Ready?
Yep. Ready?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Satora's Black History Corner internet program. I am your host, Kathryn Hunter Williams, along with my co-host, Miss Kathryn Blake. We're having some technical difficulties at this time, so please bear with us. Thanksgiving is Thursday, and we're going to tell our story about it and the story about the story of our other brothers and sisters of color who says no thanks, no giving. Marion Barry joined his ancestors last night, or recently, I'm sorry. So let's just take a moment of remembering him. He was a former mayor of Washington, D.C., and I think he was the first black mayor of Washington, D.C. So let's just take a moment to remember him, and then we'll move on into our stories. And we're going to start out with Ms. B talking about
Thanksgiving.
Black Americans free to give thanks even during slavery. Okay, just a moment. Okay. All right, Ms. B.
Okay. I was just interested in finding out how our brothers and sisters back in the 1621 celebrated Thanksgiving, and I found out that they did. That the field slaves would go out and they would catch wild game, and they would have like a cornbread stuffing or something.
No turkey.
No, well, whatever they found
No
after.
turkey.
And the house slaves, they would eat the leftovers of the family after they were done. But Thanksgiving to them was more or less like a church service, and it was very interesting to find out. I have a insert of some of the sermons that the pastors spoke to some of the people. They would, like a Sunday morning, they would gather together and be in church all day, and then they would go and eat.
Okay, think of the year that pastor did that sermon.
That was 1876.
Okay, well, 1863 was what, or 1865 was when emancipation was supposed to. Okay, so he was a American African Episcopalian.
African Episcopal, African Methodist Episcopal. Yes.
Okay, pastor.
Right.
Right. So that sermon that I heard you speaking about earlier, that
they were emancipated, they were educated, and they could go on, but it just seemed a little bit on the, yes, they were emancipated, but they really weren't. They really weren't. And he wanted them to love their country.
Well, he's a pastor.
Yeah.
And that's godlike.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So what he's saying is godlike. God love. God is love.
Yeah.
He's just telling them to love your enemies, huh?
Love your country. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Love your country and forgive the sins of the past.
That's a pastor. That's what they do, because God is love. That's all he doing.
I just couldn't wrap my head around it.
Yeah,
I really couldn't, because
that's exactly what a pastor does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even though he might be the next one to be strung up.
Yep, might be, but he still had love in his heart and forgiveness for others.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, however you choose to treat your Thanksgiving this year, it may not be out of place to give thanks for not only your personal story, but also for the journey of blacks in America, to give thanks, because certainly it was a journey. This was definitely a journey for our people back in those days.
Yeah, still is a journey.
Still is a journey.
Yeah, I'm hearing down there in Ferguson, and I don't know what if they convict a man or if they don't convict a man. People are boarding up their business. I don't get none of this. Nothing that's going on down there. You know, why would y'all let people come into your city from outside of your city to cause riots and different things? And so people that have business at this point in time, they'd have bought the National Guard. It's like, is it media, John? Is the media edging this on, Because the governor have brought in...
it's the political parties, actually. I think both parties are actually part of this, too. I mean, they shouldn't... I mean, another thing is, too, you had... John Lewis saying that they should have a conviction. He hasn't listened to the trial. He hasn't been there, but yet he wants a conviction. I mean, and see, I mean, I don't see how a person who is at a high level, and he's been there for years. He's not a novice. He should not be encouraging. Basically, he's saying he's to me he's saying if you don't get what you want, riot.
That's riot.
And they're saying, man, I don't see how
But even they saying even if they get what they want,
they're gonna riot.
they're gonna riot.
Yeah, so I don't
So they
understand.
done called National Guard in. People are boarding up their businesses. All kinds.
I don't see how this is okay. How is that going to? Okay, I'm not saying I don't know. I don't know a thing about it, so I can make a case on that. But a judgment. But him saying that he knows and he wants this outcome, and as he's a congressman, I think that's totally abhorrent. I think he should be censored for it. I think he should have disciplinary action taken against. He's trying to pervert the judicial system. It's flawed as enough as it is. But when he adds political elements to it, it's absurd.
It gets messy.
It's going to be. And it's going to, if anything happens, I want it on his head and anybody who advocates a certain outcome. They should just listen to the trial.
To me, bottom line of this whole thing is those people don't vote. There's no way in the world that that should be an all-white anything down there when you've got 85% black living there.
That still does not mean that they should be, whether they get a conviction or they don't, that they're going to riot. It's like setting yourself up.
It's
to
almost
be tore down.
like
They're going to lose. They're going to lose. Who's going to lose?
Well, in all actuality, they already lost.
Okay, and they're going to continue to lose.
They're going to continue to lose
so
until
who is
they
losing?
learn.
The black people is losing.
And whose fault is it? If there would not be a white police chief, there would not be a white. The judges would not all be white. I mean, you vote for these folks. Their attorney general. When you stop and think about who has the power, where is the people that represent you?
So you're saying black people don't get out and vote?
They evidently didn't.
See, the thing is, when you're talking about judicial, it's not supposed to be politically influenced. Like, it shouldn't be just a matter who votes for whom. What should be evaluated in any case is the elements of the case itself. See,
that's true. That's true.
So
but yet and
what's not being
still,
done
when
here.
you look at the rationale of who is being represented, there's going to be racism anyway. But if you want somebody to represent you,
if you want to make change,
that's right. The change begins with you.
Yeah.
It begins with you. It's your responsibility to get out there and get the people in the positions that will protect you and watch over your what you need, your needs for the community.
You vote here in the Flint area, right? You vote somewhere in Flint.
Okay, all right. Yeah. We're going to cut this off because she got to leave at 4:15, right?
Yeah, a few minutes.
Yep. So we got to cut that off because we can get off into a whole
new thing,
and we done moved from things.
I just go along with what she said, though. You should vote. But I don't see what the imposition is, so making it impossible for people not to vote. I don't see where it's such an impossible
It's not impossible. They just don't do it.
Point. That's my point.
Just don't do it.
All right, we done. We done with that one. I did that. I did that. I stepped my foot in there when I brought up Ferguson. All right, folks, we going back to Thanksgiving. You done for a minute?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, my story is about, like I said, about the story of our other brothers and sisters of color who says, no thanks, no giving. And this is something I found on the internet when I was trying to look for something about Thanksgiving. And really it always comes to this, to the Native Americans.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now, the title is this, The Truth About Thanksgiving, Brainwashing of the American History Textbook. And we could go a little further with that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I want to tell you how, I'm just going to give a little bit on that, and then I'm going to tell you how we actually got the holiday.
Okay.
A full-fledged national holiday. Okay. You see in the, I don't know if John got that picture, no thanks? Okay. Genocide, poverty, hunger. What are you celebrating? Give thanks every day. That's the picture that says that you see it on the screen. No thanks, no giving. Those who are indigenous to this land we call the United States of America have been long misrepresented and pushed out of American history textbooks in favor of glorifying those who now rule this nation and represents the dominant culture. What kind of democracy are we when educational institutions, and teachers refuse to mention the fact that 10 to 30 million Native Americans were killed at the hands of European invasion and colonialism. What is the point of having a free market of ideas when selective and biased history is being taught to our children? You say the same thing for American Africans. There's no other way to put it but erasing the memory of an entire race of people. They did the same thing with American Africans. That's why I love this. I mean, it's just so close. Through distorted history is a systematic way of deceiving and lying to our children. And it is all about the children. Not only are we presented with biased history, but we are also subject to ever-growing cultural capitalism in which commercialism
That's true.
of an ambiguous holiday merely pulls us away from the fact and meaning. Turkeys are associated with Thanksgiving in the same way Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny have become synonymous with Christmas and Easter, respectively.
Mm-hmm.
Through the guise of innocence, capitalism is constantly telling us to consume because consumption equals happiness. Tomorrow is not Black Friday for nothing. Well, that's the day after Thanksgiving. They call it Black Friday. And as children dressed up as pilgrims and natives to reenact the romanticized version of history, they are not only perpetrating stereotypes, but more importantly, they are being embedded with lies. What do they really know about the pilgrims and the natives? Consider a high school history textbook called The American Tradition, which describes the scene quite succinctly. I think I pronounced that right. Accurately, I rather. Sometimes I like to use my spell checker dictionary. Give me a thesaurus. Okay, here we go. After some exploring, the pilgrims chose the land around Plymouth Harbor for their settlement.
Wow.
Unfortunately, they arrived in December and were not prepared for the New England winter. However, they were aided by friendly Indians who gave them food and showed them how to grow corn. When warm weather came, the colonists planted, fished, hunted, and prepared themselves for next winter. After harvesting their first crop, they and their Indian friends celebrated the first Thanksgiving. This patronizing version of history excludes many embarrassing facts of European history, as stated by James W. Lowen, author of Lies My Teachers Told Me. I got this book too. It's
Okay.
very interesting. Many college students are unaware of the horrific plague that devastated and significantly reduced the population of natives after Columbus' arrival in the New World. Most diseases came from animals that were domesticated by Europeans. Cowpox from cows led to smallpox, which was later spread through gifts of blankets by infected Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 12 high school textbooks Professor Lowen studied and analyzed, only 3 offer some explanation that the plague was a factor of European colonization. The 9 remaining textbooks mention almost nothing, and 2 of them omit the subject altogether. He writes, each of the other 7 furnishes only fragments of a paragraph that does not even make it into the index, let alone into students' mind. Why is it important to mention the plague? It reinforces European ethnocentricism, which hardly produces a friendly relationship between the natives and the Europeans. To most of the pilgrims and Europeans, the natives were heathen, savages, treacherous, and satanic. Upon seeing thousands of dead natives, the governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony, John Winthrop, called the plague miraculous. You hear that?
Mm-hmm.
In 1634, he wrote to a friend in England, but for the natives in this part, God have so pursued them. As for 300 miles space, the greatest part of them are swept away. Now he said God said this. God pursued them by the smallpox, which is still continues among them today. So as God hath thereby cleared our title to this place, those who remain in these parts, being in all not 50, have put themselves under our project. The ugly truth is that many pilgrims were thankful and grateful that the native population was decreasing.
Wow.
That's
Really?
why Thanksgiving. Even worse, there was Pequot, the Pequot massacre in 1637, which started after the colonists found a murdered white man in his boat. 90 armed settlers burned a native village along with their crops and then demanded the natives to turn to the murderers. And when the natives refused, a massacre followed. Now I'm going to just stop right there because I still want to tell you how this became a national holiday. But if you want to go look up the entire story, you could go. It's called Broken Mystic, The Truth About Thanksgiving, Brainwashing of the American History Textbook. No thanks, no giving. All right. Now, it's this woman who is responsible for all these lies.
Okay.
It turns out it's a woman named Sarah Josepha Hale, who is also responsible for such atrocities as Mary Had a Little Lamb. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And most of the food we associate with Thanksgiving. Then he says, the nerve. Hale was a writer who was so inspired by the story of what we were taught is the first Thanksgiving that she wrote letters to several presidents over the course of about 17 years, asking for it to become a recognized national holiday. In 1863, President Lincoln finally relented and turned Thanksgiving from a random regional phenomenon observed mostly in the North into a full-fledged national holiday.
Wow.
Hale's obsession with the story of the Pilgrims' Thanksgiving is what led to the popularization of the idea that it was the first, and since it was because of Hale that the holiday eventually became nationally recognized, that Thanksgiving may not actually be the first, but is still pretty much the reason we celebrate the holiday today. Thanks, Squanto, anyway. Still, Hale might have gotten a little carried away with the food that Thanksgiving is famous for. And those was the turkey and the pumpkin pies and all that kind of stuff. So now y'all know who made this day, who was the cause of this day, Thanksgiving being a national holiday. Her name is Sarah Josepha Hale.
Mm.
All right?
I got a piece right here of what President Lincoln wrote. He said, I do therefore invite my fellow citizens in every part of the United States, and also those who are at the sea, and those who are sojourning in foreign lands, to set apart and observe the last Thursday of November next as a day of thanksgiving and praise to our beneficent Father who dwelleth in the heavens.
Okay.
That's what he did.
So he made it, he's the one who, it happened during his time.
Mm-hmm. He signed the Emancipation Proclamation on New Year's Day in 1863.
Okay.
And later on that year, he signed the Proclamation of a National Thanksgiving Day.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
who started? Who pushed it? Sarah, what is her name? Sarah Josepha Hale. She the one. It's just like if you want a holiday and you just keep on pushing and writing letters to the president or
well,
whoever.
they're doing that with Juneteenth, and he hasn't done it yet. But we're still waiting on it.
I got to see that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
amen. But just to let you know that black families back in those days were in the church. They were treating church Thanksgiving as a Sunday, as we treat it now.
That's in 1876, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, now I want to end this because we got to wrap this up. Thanksgiving to the Native Americans is a national day of mourning for them.
I believe that.
Every year since 1970, United American Indians of New England have organized the National Day of Mourning observed in Plymouth at noon on Thanksgiving Day.
I didn't know that.
Every year, hundreds of Native people and our supporters from all four directions join us. Every year, including this year, Native peoples from throughout all the Americas would speak the truth about our history.
Well, that's not
about-
on the news. I wanna.
That's not going to be on the news. It's Native Americans.
Okay.
Come on. You know, it might be PBS might do a documentary on it, but no. Every year, including this year, It's our news. Ha!
Amen.
We getting it out there some kind of way. Every year, including this year, Native people from throughout the Americas will speak the truth about their history and about current issues and struggles they are involved in. All right.
All right.
So now you know Thanksgiving is a national day of mourning for the Native Americans. That's why they say no thanks, no giving, because they still treat them so wrong.
And black people back in slavery days did celebrate Thanksgiving.
And Christmas. Well, those are days that the master would let them off.
Mm.
You know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I know you told me, but
I didn't. I thought
that
was
was a holiday fun
24/7.
for them. They have somebody playing, like if you look at Roots, they had a fiddler and all that, and they had little food, but the little food that you know the slaves had, like you said, was some cornmeal and maybe some fat back or something like that. Wow, we survived that.
Amen.
We're still here today.
Still here.
All right. All right, that's our story
Well, could I
about,
mention about the school that we just purchased?
you the one who got to go, not me.
Okay, well, it's Evergreen, our foundation. I'm part of that foundation, and we purchased a school here in Flint, and it's called Bunch Community School. It will be called the Flint Development Center, and what we're doing is raising funds for it. So this is going to be a community hub with different organizations for the community, for housing, for health, for culture, and I know you're going to help me with this.
With what?
With the NIA room.
Oh, okay.
The NIA culture room. Yes, we will have African and African American history.
American, African.
Yes, visions and values.
You need to get it.
Yeah, visions
do.
and values. So you can go to Indiegogo.com and please donate. Donate. Help us get this going for our community. That's all I can say.
You know, if you don't support it, it's not going to last.
Right.
So come on, people. We're asking that y'all support Indigo.
Indiegogo.com.
Indiegogo.com.
is the fundraiser.
Spell it so they can write it down.
INDIEGO. Indiegogo.com.
And support.
And
Put your money where your mouth is. I know y'all talk a lot of stuff, but
look for
it's
Flint
time to do
Development
something.
Center. Flint Development Center. Flint Development Center. Flint Development Center.
And tap in $1,000.
Amen.
All right.
All right.
Okay. All right. Now, that's our story about no thanks and no giving for our other brothers and sisters of color.
I'm going to be watching for that on the news.
That's not coming on the news.
I'm going to be watching for
And then Mrs. Blake's story about black Americans free to give
Thanksgiving during slavery.
even during slavery, and I know they did it during Christmas. They celebrated Christmas too. They let them off. Those are some days they let them not have to go to the field. They look forward to them days.
And thank you for the understanding of what that preacher was talking about too in his sermon.
He was a pastor.
Because I couldn't wrap my head around it, because you know what was going on back in those days.
Well, we didn't get the opportunity to tell the sermon that she had told because, like I said, we had some technical difficulties. But the pastor that she's talking about, all he did, he's a pastor. And what is it? God is love. So he was preaching love.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Forgive
love.
your brothers. Forgive what white people are doing to you. That's all. That's what you do. That's what pastors do.
But I'd be well, so I could just see her now.
Now she's been a whole different thing. Thank you.
Amen.
But I'm a pastor, but I also realize that some things just ain't right. And I can't sit here and support it. I know God is love, and I'm going to say God is love, and that we should forgive. But also I have to say, this ain't right what they doing to the people. You got to put that in there because it's not right. But we must forgive. Jesus say forgive. Forgive.
Yeah.
That's what pastors do. Now you got it?
I got it.
Wrap your head around
Wrap my head around
because
it.
that's the truth about it.
Amen.
All right. Satora's Black History Corner internet program comes to you via satellite at allpointstv.com. You can watch our program every second and fourth Monday of the month starting at 3:30 p.m. Also, be sure to watch What's Going On with political pundit Dr. George Moss every Monday at 2 p.m. I missed him today. We sincerely hope you enjoyed our theme song, Be Proud to Be Black, Oh, I'm sorry it didn't get played because of technical difficulties. Forgive me, people. Let me move forward. As always, I like to say asante, which is a Swahili word that means thanks. To all of you who have watched our program today, and if you have liked what you have seen and heard, pass it on to others. We
Amen.
need your support. Without it, we will cease to exist. Oh, excuse me. And remember, Thanksgiving is Thursday, and when you sit down to have that wonderful feast you have been blessed with, think about our Native American brothers and sisters.
Mhm.
Until next time.
Think about the struggles of our families too, and
Yeah.
and
And
our
those families
forefathers.
that are not even having a
Mhm.
Thanksgiving because it's a homeless family.
Right.
They don't have food. So, like I say, when you sit down, think about all of that.
Thank God for all the churches and all the organizations that are having Thanksgiving dinners for the homeless and for those that may not even have family here.
Yeah.
Thank God for them.
Thank God for them. Because it is people out there that is giving out free deals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry I missed the other day.
Oh, that's okay. We had a good time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping on with us and stay in perfect hotep, which means
Peace.